The first rejection came before Eleanor May even stepped off the train. She heard it in the pause, the way the man's eyes flicked over her and stopped, the way his smile faltered like a candle hit by wind. The sign in his hand still read E. May Carter, but his shoulders stiffened, and the hope she had carried across 3 states cracked quietly in her chest. I must be mistaken, he said, already folding the paper. I was expecting someone smaller. The words were polite. The meaning was not. Eleanor stood there in her worn brown coat, gloved hands gripping her single suitcase, cheeks burning as passengers streamed past. She was 26, broad-shouldered from years of farm work, soft in places men seemed to despise, and tall enough that she'd learned to hunch without realizing it. Her photograph had been honest, she thought, but photographs never carried weight the way bodies did in person. I understand, she whispered, though she didn't. Not really. She watched him turn and leave, boots echoing down the platform, taking with him the future she had written letters about for 6 months. That was how Eleanor May Carter became a mail-order bride with nowhere to go. She spent the night in the women's waiting room, curled on a wooden bench, listening to the wind howl through the cracks of the station like it was laughing at her. She had left behind a dying farm, a mother buried last winter, and a town that only ever saw her sighs before her kindness. Going back wasn't an option. Pride wouldn't allow it, and neither would the empty pockets of her coat. By morning, she made a decision the way desperate people do, quickly, and with trembling resolve. She would answer another advertisement. Any work, any roof. That was how she ended up walking down a muddy logging road 2 days later, skirts damp, boots caked with dirt, toward a cabin half hidden by towering pines. The man she was supposed to meet here hadn't written about marriage. Only work, only honesty. Strong hands needed. Room and board provided. H. Calder, North Ridge. The door opened before she could knock. He was enormous. Not just tall, though he was that, but wide through the shoulders, thick-armed, his flannel stretched tight across a chest carved by years of swinging an axe. His beard was dark and untrimmed, his hair tied back with a strip of leather. When he looked at her, his eyes, soft gray, surprisingly gentle, did not flick away. They stayed. Yes, he said. Eleanor swallowed. I'm here about the notice. My name is Eleanor Carter. He glanced behind her, as if expecting someone else. You came alone. Yes, sir. Another pause. Her heart braced itself for the familiar disappointment. Instead, he opened the door wider. Name's Henry, he said. You look frozen. Come in. The cabin smelled of pine sap and wood smoke. It was simple but clean. 1 table, 2 chairs, a narrow bed against the wall. Eleanor stood awkwardly, unsure where to put herself, while Henry poured coffee into a chipped mug and handed it to her like it was the most natural thing in the world. You can sit, he said. She did. He studied her, not like a buyer judging goods, but like a craftsman assessing something solid. Useful. Real. I won't lie, he said finally. The work's hard. Long days. Cold winters. I'm not afraid of hard, Eleanor replied. I grew up lifting feed sacks heavier than me. A flicker of something, approval, maybe, crossed his face. You planning to stay long-term? She hesitated. I was, hoping for something permanent. If possible. Henry nodded slowly. I lost my wife 3 years back. Fever took her. I'm not looking to replace her, but I won't turn away good company either. Eleanor felt a strange ache at his honesty. I'm not looking to replace anyone, she said softly. I just want a place where I'm not a mistake. Henry's jaw tightened. Anyone who made you feel that way is a fool. And just like that, something shifted. The days settled into a rhythm. Eleanor worked alongside Henry, hauling logs, splitting kindling, cooking meals that tasted like home. She was strong in a way that surprised even her body built for endurance, for holding steady under weight. Henry never once commented on her size. When he handed her an axe sized to her grip, or showed her how to brace her stance, it felt like respect, not pity. At night, they ate together in companionable silence. Sometimes he told stories about the forest, how it spoke if you listened, how trees leaned toward the light like living things. Eleanor listened like someone starved for gentleness. But the world beyond the cabin was less kind. When they went into town for supplies, eyes followed her. Whispers crept between aisles. She heard words like too much woman, poor Henry, desperate. One afternoon, a shopkeeper assumed she was the hired help and tried to shoo her from the counter. Henry's voice cut through the air like an axe through wood. "She's with me." 3 words. Steady. Unashamed. That night, Eleanor cried into her pillow, hating herself for caring, hating the world more for making her feel small while insisting she took up too much space. A week later, she tried to leave. She packed quietly at dawn, heart pounding. Henry caught her at the door. "Where are you going?" "I don't want to be a burden," she said, tears spilling. They talk. I see it in their eyes. "I don't belong anywhere." Henry set down his coffee slowly. "Look at me." She did. "You think I don't hear them?" He said. "You think I haven't been judged my whole life, for my size, my scars, my grief." He stepped closer, not towering, just present. "You belong where you are wanted. And I want you here." The words hit her harder than any rejection ever had. Spring came, soft and slow. Eleanor laughed more. She stood straighter. Henry began to notice things, the way her eyes lit up when she sang softly while cooking, the quiet strength in her hands, the way she noticed details he missed. One evening, as they watched the sun sink behind the trees, he realized something that frightened him with its clarity. She was not filling a space left behind. She was creating something new. The proposal was simple. No ring. Just honesty. "I don't see you the way the world does," Henry said, voice rough. "I see my match." Eleanor said yes before fear could speak. They married in the cabin, with the forest as witness. When they walked into town together afterward, heads still turned, but Eleanor held her chin high. She was not asking to be chosen anymore. She already was. And in the years that followed, people learned what Henry had known from the moment he opened his door, that some women are not meant to be smaller, quieter, or easier to ignore. Some are meant to be steady, strong, and impossible to overlook.